There was no one in him. Behind his face, even through the bad paintings of those times, resembles no other. And his words, which were copious, fantastic, and stormy, there was only a bit of coldness, a dream dreamt by no one. At first he thought that all people were like him, but the astonishment of a friend to whom he had begun to speak of this emptiness showed him his error, and made him feel always that an individual should not differ in outward appearance. Once he thought that in books he would find a cure for his ill, and thus he learned the small Latin and less Greek a contemporary would speak of. Later, he considered that what he sought might well be found in an elemental right of humanity, and let himself be initiated by Anne Hathaway one long June afternoon. At the age of 20-odd years, he went to London. Instinctively, he had already become proficient in the habit of simulating that he was someone, so that others would not discover his condition as no one. In London, he found the profession to which he was predestined, that of the actor, who on a stage plays at being another before a gathering of people who play at taking him for that other person. His histrionic tasks brought him a singular satisfaction, perhaps the first he had ever known. But once the last verse had been acclaimed, and the last dead man withdrawn from the stage, the hated flavor of unreality returned to him. He ceased to be Ferrex or Tamburlaine and became no one again. Thus hounded, he took to imagining other heroes and other tragic fables. And so, while his flesh fulfilled its destiny as flesh in the taverns and brothels of London, the soul that inhabited him was Caesar, who disregards the augur's admonition, and Juliet, who abhors the lark, and Macbeth, who converses on the plain with the witches who are also fates. No one has ever been so many men as this man, who like the Egyptian Proteus could exhaust all the guises of reality. At times he would leave a confession hidden away in some corner of his work, certain that it would not be deciphered. Richard affirms that in his person he plays the part of many, and Iago claims with curious words, "I am not what I am." The fundamental identity of existing, dreaming, and acting inspired famous passages of his. For 20 years he persisted in that controlled hallucination, but one morning he was suddenly gripped by the tedium and the terror of being so many kings who die by the sword, and so many suffering lovers who converge, diverge, and melodiously expire. That very day he arranged to sell his theatre. Within a week he had returned to his native village, where he recovered the trees and rivers of his childhood, and did not relate them to the others his muse had celebrated, illustrious and mythological allusions with Latin terms. He had to be someone. He was a retired impresario who had made his fortune and concerned himself with loans, lawsuits, and petty usury. It was in this character that he dictated the arid will and testament known to us, from which he deliberately excluded all traces of pathos or literature. His friends from London would visit his retreat, and for them he would take up again his role as poet. History adds that before or after dying, he found himself in the presence of God and told him, "I, who have been so many men in vain, want to be one and myself." The voice of the Lord answered from a whirlwind, "Neither am I anyone. I have dreamt the world as you dreamt your work, my Shakespeare, and among the forms in my dream are you, who, like myself, are many and no one."